Welcome, everybody, to another episode of HomeKit Insider. You've got me, Andrew O'Hara, here with a grand poobah of fish wearing slacks. It is Stephen Robles. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I was moving the microphone out of the way so I could tweet that I'm wearing a podcast shirt. Do you have any podcast shirts, Andrew? Do you buy shirts from podcasts?
No,
no,
I don't. No,
you just refuse. You say no. I'm not doing it.
I wish that was some sort of like backdoor into like our own merch, but it's not. So
no, it's not. maybe one day. Let us know, listeners. Would you get some HomeKittier merch, or would it be HomeKitty? Or maybe our first merch should be like HomeKitties versus HomeKittiers, like kind of like a fight scene on the shirt. You know what I mean? I think that'd be good.
Yeah, like one of those old school. Is like Tekken, the old school like fighter ones?
The fighting. Yes, Mortal Kombat, Tekken.
There we go.
Good stuff. That's good.
Yep.
We don't have time to talk about it today because we have so much other stuff. But I'm looking at you on my new studio display. Just throwing that out there because I finally got my Visa mount. And
that's good.
It's a nice display. That's all I'll say. That's the review. It's a nice display.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. All right, we got a bunch of news. We got some privacy stuff. I got some fun stuff that I want to talk about. Andrew doesn't know. I have a secret here in the notes. The box is right off camera. Oh, almost showed it. Okay, not going to do that. All right, first of all, LifX, the HomeKit brand, they make some HomeKit bulbs. They've been around for quite a while, but they've actually been purchased by an electric company or electrical company, Feit. Here's pronunciation corner for you. What is it? Is it Feit? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay, well,
I don't know.
Feit, Feit Electric has purchased LifX. LifX struggled to, really get out there, be a successful smart home company. I think their products are basically a bulb and maybe one or two other things. I'm not even sure. I think I've only ever had a LifX bulb. But the company Feit promises to Feit. I don't know. You're laughing at me.
No, I'm just laughing at your synopsis of LifX. Like they sell one product.
Well, I know they sell a couple other things, but I only am familiar with the bulb. I mean, do you have any other of their things?
Well, clearly, this is why they went under. Steven doesn't
I know. It's brand recognition.
What they got going on. They really did have a lot. They still do have a lot, and they've come up with a bunch of like ingenious uses for their things. So a couple of their big ones that I think have been since discontinued, they were going up against NanoLeaf in the panels. So they had like square tiles that they had launched that were very neat, similar to the NanoLeaf panels that are out there. They had a series called like I don't even know what they were, like the Beam, I think, something like that. And they were light bars, and you could put them at like different angles and stuff. Those were very cool. Then they have light strips. They have, and they have multiple versions of their light strips. So regular ones, they had multi-zone ones before Hue and anybody else did. So they did the multi-zone light strips. They had ones that could attach to the back of your TV and had like right corners that could be installed. So you could use them as rear TV lighting. They have those really neat bulbs that have the ultraviolet light that would come on. So say you have you install those in your basement, and then you have security cameras in your basement. It'll be completely dark to you or an intruder, but your camera will be able to have extended range because these ultraviolet lights will be lighting, and the cameras can pick up the UV light. Then they have the cleaning ones, which they came out with, which I think people over expected what they could do in terms of like sanitizing your house, but they really would work. You had to have them on for like extreme durations and closer to stuff, but it was at least something versus nothing. And so they came out with those. So it's about actually the first article I saw about it was on the Verge, and they said they haven't done anything really in the last like 2 years or so. And I was like, they came out with several products, including that UV light, like only last year. So they've still been around doing things. They recently had the switch that was updated to HomeKit only a couple months ago. The wall switch that was with the buttons. We even talked about that in our show. So that was very recently. So yeah, they've done quite a few things other than just a couple bulbs.
Okay, I apologize, LifX. I'm sorry. Maybe they just need to send us more press releases so we actually know what they're doing. Because I just had never, even going on their website, I've been perusing as you were talking, and they do have a lot of products, like you were saying. I didn't even know they had switches. I knew they had light strips, I think, but it's not very clear which of those products are HomeKit. It looks like
I'm
the
pretty
Switch
sure
is...
everything is HomeKit.
Is it? Because it's hard, like the Switch right here, it doesn't say HomeKit anywhere on the page.
We covered it on the show. It was like in April.
Okay. My bad. I don't know what it was then. I don't know why this brand is a mental block on me. Anyway, sorry, LifX. Well, hopefully Feit, the company that bought LifX, can help them get in front of more people. And
for what it's worth, that company is a U.S.-based company. I think they're out of like California. They make a lot of bulbs and stuff that are sold through like Home Depot and Lowe's. So like they're more of a, I don't know if that's like their actual branding on their products, but they do have product lines that are sold directly through those big box stores, and should hopefully increase the footprint of LifX. Because I feel like one of the things that was LifX's issue is they did have a lot of stuff online, big on Amazon. Their products were fairly expensive for some of them, but I mean, they're Wi-Fi bulbs. Like they're not even like Bluetooth or anything like that. So they're Wi-Fi. So they were, good signal and everything, a little more expensive than some of the ones that were using Zigbee or BLE or anything like that. But they didn't have any like retail presence. I never saw them in Home Depot or Lowe's or Target, or I don't even know about Best Buy even, maybe Best Buy.
I think they're bulb.
But yeah.
Maybe the one bulb. I think that's why. Like when you walk
into
Best Buy,
the one bulb that you're aware of.
Yeah. That's my bad.
Which they really do have a ton. They have, and they're
really
incredibly bright, far brighter than, maybe not now, because Hue has been working on steadily increasing their output, but they had some very bright bulbs in comparison. They had little candle bulbs that could flicker and stuff that would do multiple colors. Again, compared to the Hue ones that could maybe do one color. They had a lot of really neat effects in their app. So they've come out with a lot of really unique stuff, and they were first to a lot of it compared to where we are now. Okay,
well, hopefully they'll do even more stuff and get in front of more people. LifX, there you go. Not just a bulb. That can be your new tagline. Not just a bulb. Not just a bulb. All right.
How has no one snatched you up to write marketing copy?
Thank you. I don't know. Thank you very much. Speaking of switches, by the way, I just want to mention this real quick. YSR50 on Twitter, he actually tweeted me a picture. He got his Wemo smart dimmer with thread already. He's got it in hand. And so I went on Amazon and I was like, oh, maybe they're delivering quickly, but not for right now. If you order on Amazon, it's not till late August or September that it might arrive. But nice to see the Wemo smart dimmer with thread is out there in the wild. So that's cool. This next piece of news is from Twinkly. Ryan Off on Twitter is the first one that actually sent it to me, and then there's kind of several news articles about it now. But Twinkly, we talked about them when it came to holiday lights. They have some HomeKit enabled like Christmas lights, and I think outdoor lights as well. Well, they're getting into a new space now. These are HomeKit devices, and these are the new Twinkly Squares. They're LED panels. And you can think like nanoleaf shapes-ish, but these are different. These are not exactly like that, because these are square panels that actually have like smaller squares in them that can change colors. And they have very interesting designs. Like we'll put a picture obviously in the chapter art, but you can basically have like pictures, put like several panels. Let's say you have a 16 panel square on your wall, and it can like show like a pixelated image, basically what would look like a pixelated image, which is pretty cool. And then plus you can do colors and gradients and all that kind of stuff. They have a gaming setup where you could show like a countdown timer on the Twinkly panels. So these are definitely different than the nanoleaf squares and panels. This is a different product. It looks pretty cool. I think this is the first thing like this that we have seen. What do you think, Andrew?
I've forgotten who they are. Someone else had something similar that I had seen at CES that's not Twinkly. But
was it LifX?
Cool stuff.
Did LifX make one of these too?
It was not LifX.
Okay.
But there's like some cool images of pixel art that people have created this. Like in the PR images, there's like an image of Marilyn Monroe made of like an 8x8 or a 4x4 square. There is a abstract version of Starry Night that looks really neat. Like there's some cool stuff with that.
It looks pretty cool. And so eager to try those out. I didn't see a release date. I think it's like September. They said September they will be coming. So you can't order them just yet, but hopefully next month as you listen to this, Twinkly Squares. They'll have a starter kit and then like a 5-pack, a 3-pack of the squares. So looks pretty cool. USB-C too, uses USB-C for power. Kudos, Twinkly. Thank you. Using a standard connector. That's great. Okay. This actually news came out. The Sonos Sub Mini, we have talked about it the last several months. It was supposed to come out this summer, and it turns out it has been delayed. A spokesperson for Sonos actually contacted The Verge. Didn't say Sub Mini specifically, but they said a greatly anticipated product has been delayed from Q3 or Q4 to Q1, which their Q1 would be October through December of this year. So if you've been holding out for a Sub Mini from Sonos because you don't want to spend the $800 on the big one, you're going to have to wait a little longer, but it looks like hopefully by the end of this year, around holiday times, you'll be able to get the Sub Mini. So it's still coming. Hold on.
Yeah, that's definitely something people have been waiting for. I've been waiting to buy one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's got to be. It's either that or headphones, because that's the other product that has been greatly anticipated from Sonos. We've also seen a bunch of stuff come out about them. I can't tell if we've gotten more information about the Sub Mini or the headphones, but the Sub Mini, it's like, it feels more real because The Verge did those 3D renders of it. So I feel like we can see it and it looks like a product versus the headphones that are a little bit more, shadowed.
Nebulous.
But either one of them, at least it's only like a couple months at this point. I mean, we're already through August. So at this point, it's only a month and a half or something away, less than 2 months away.
It's not like Matter gets delayed a year and a half. But anyway, Matter, I'll believe it when I see it. TM, trademark. But I'm really curious about the Sonos Sub Mini because I just got the big one. Like I've told our listeners, sounds great. I'm curious if this Mini is going to sound even in the ballpark of the big one. And if so, I don't think there would be any reason to ever buy the big one if you could just get the Sub Mini. So maybe they're trying to hold out. They saw me buy one. They're like, we just sold one of those in the last 2 months. Let's hold out. I don't know. We'll see. But hopefully the Sub Mini coming out soon. All right, now we got some privacy things we want to talk about from several companies, Amazon's Ring and Amazon buying iRobot. But before we get to Privacy Corner, our new segment here on HomeKit Insider, that's not an official segment. I just kind of threw that out there. I want to tell you about our friends at Zocdoc. Listen, if you're going to go to a restaurant, you know what you do. You read those reviews. You want to see how many stars does this place have, people taking pictures of the food and all that kind of stuff. Well, you can do that with your doctors now when you use the free Zocdoc app. Zocdoc, it's a free app, and it shows you doctors who are patient-reviewed, so reviews from other people like real-life humans, and doctors that take your insurance and are available when you need them. You can find specialists under any specialist you might need, a general doctor. If you have whatever ailment, booking on Zocdoc, you can actually do it really quickly too. Appointments are available as early as in the next 24 hours, and you can do in-person or telehealth, all from the free app, or you can do it on the website, and you see those patient reviews. And what's great is you can put your insurance company and even plan into Zocdoc, and it will show you the doctors that take your insurance. So you never have to get to a doctor's office for your appointment that you made and waited on the phone and through phone trees to make, and then you find out they don't take your insurance. You never have to experience that again when you use Zocdoc. Zocdoc.com, you find the doctor that's right for you. Book an appointment in person or remotely, works for your schedule. And you got to get on that Zocdoc train. I mean, come on. You can read reviews of your doctor. What do you think about that? I mean, that's pretty slick.
Well, I mean, the reviews are helpful, but I really like the ability to find out if it takes your insurance.
That's a big deal.
And actually scheduling an appointment. Like, scheduling appointments feels like a utter mess most of the time.
Absolutely.
And there always seems to be ridiculous waits. And then, like you said, you don't know if they take your insurance for sure until you get there. And then they're like, oh, yeah, no.
It's the worst.
It's a mess. This is so much easier. Much easier to take care of all that.
Absolutely. Every month, millions of people use Zocdoc. I'm one of them. I use Zocdoc personally. It's my go-to whenever I need to find and book a quality doctor. So go to Zocdoc.com/HKI for HomeKit Insider. Download the free Zocdoc app and then start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc.com/HKI. Zocdoc.com/HKI. Thanks to Zocdoc for sponsoring this episode. And now a much anticipated corner. This might be a new popular segment on the show. Tonight's show's got the tweets. It's got the thank you notes. We have what company is stealing your data today? That's our new segment here on HomeKit Insider. And we have not one but two candidates for this category. Number one, we talked about Ring, and Amazon owns Ring. They purchased Ring a long time ago, so every Ring doorbell camera. We talked about the law enforcement thing, where law enforcement can just go to a website on Amazon and basically without a warrant request video footage, and that's been done at least a dozen times in the last year. And now you have a link here to the Apple News article, but why don't you tell me a little bit about what you learned from here? What are they collecting of our data? Well, not mine. I don't use a Ring, but anyway.
This is true. We don't use Rings. But there's quite a bit of information. So let's see I'm trying to think, where is that spot on here of actually who collected this data? Because I always like to be able to cite who's actually collecting this data.
In March 2020, there was a BBC information request that revealed a bunch of things they collected.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ring gets your name, phone number, email, and postal address.
Of course.
Sure. As well as any other information that you provide, such as payment information and social handles, if you link it to your Facebook account. And if you do that, you get all the additional information from your Facebook account that it requests. It also gets information about your Wi-Fi network and its signal strength. It knows what you named your camera. And they also log everything that happens with your doorbell. So every time the button was pressed, every time motion is detected, every time someone zooms in on footage on their phone.
That's the one right there. That
captures.
I don't like that. Listen, okay. I'm sorry. I'm going to let you finish. Go ahead.
Then there's a nice little stat here. In 129 days, 4,906 actions were recorded from this BBC information request. And just to be clear, Ring says it does not sell people's data. I mean, Amazon has it. Whether or not they're selling it to its own company is different, and what it can do with it. But it's not selling it outside of Amazon, at least.
This is, again, just more and more information coming out about Amazon, and really mostly Amazon and Google is just to a lesser extent that they make that warrant-free video footage request made available to law enforcement. The fact that they know and keep track of when you zoom in on a piece of footage on your phone, that starts to feel really grimy, because it's like that's a user interaction that I would assume. And again, there's like I think they said like a 40-page privacy policy. I forget how long it is. So, I mean, this stuff is mentioned in all those terms and services that no one reads and all that, which, okay, fine. Like, if you really want to know, you should just read that. But to track every time you zoom in on a piece of video footage on your Ring camera, that feels super weird. And the doorbell activity, okay, yeah, sure, keeps details. I would also just say, naming a camera too, that feels weird. Like when I name a device, I would assume that that's kind of like a private to me naming convention for, and it's not like you're naming anything nefarious or whatever, but that just feels like a weird piece of data to track and then observe from Amazon's part. And as a final note, just listen, I don't think our listeners do this, but I would recommend you never, ever connect anything to Facebook, because if you like all the different online accounts, now when you go to create an account on most websites, it's like, well, you can create an email username and password, or you can connect with Google, you can do that sign in with Apple, you can sign in with Facebook, you can sign in with Twitter, you can sign in with your DVD player, you can sign in with your microwave, sign in with your coffee mate, you sign in with whatever you want. To choose any other option besides Facebook, I would recommend. And honestly, I never sign in with any of those. I've done sign in with Apple a couple of times, but I really just prefer to create an account with an email and password that's unique to that website or service, put it in one password, put it in iCloud keychain, and don't connect that to another service, because clearly it's not just letting you log in with your Facebook credentials. Facebook is getting that data. And I don't know what kind of terms and agreements that Facebook has that allows it to do that, but man, it just feels super grimy. I don't know, man.
It's one of those things where they collect data from enough different places and you put it together, which, I mean, I know that was like a lot of the Cambridge Analytica stuff that happened.
Right.
But when Amazon is getting this data from like, okay, it's getting data from that point, it's getting data from any other Amazon or sign in with Amazon stuff that you have, and it starts to paint a very specific picture about you, your habits, your home, your family, all of that stuff. And like you said, I feel like the Facebook thing was one of the reasons Apple created this sign in with Apple option and
Yes.
made it a requirement when you're presenting. If you're going to allow to do the sign in with Google or Facebook or something, pretty sure they require you to offer up the sign in with Apple option. That's what I
100%.
usually use because you don't have to worry about saving the password and stuff like that, which like I love 1Password, but if I have an option where I don't have to do that, and on top of that, the sign in with Apple can hide your email address so you don't get like spam marketing emails. Some of these places that sell your data or something, you don't want that. And you can shut down those emails at any time. And it syncs across your devices. So I like doing the sign in with Apple thing because I know my data is safe with Apple.
Yeah.
And you don't have to sign in with Facebook and grant them access to any of that.
Yeah. Man, so grimy one. This kind of coincides with it because Amazon's just trying to buy every company that is in your home. Amazon bought iRobot. We talked about that last week. And basically this acquisition, iRobot maps your home. When you get a lot of these Roomba robots, the Bravia mop, things like that, it creates a floor plan of your home. And actually, even the Roborock that I have, it does the same thing, creates a map of your home. And that is now data that Amazon can access, a map of your home, a floor plan. And not to mention, now no news has come out of this, but there are certain Roomba models that have cameras on it. My Roborock and the S7 Max V Ultra Infinity Stone, that has a camera on it, and you can like tune in. And I was looking up because I wanted to make sure, and there are Roombas that have cameras on it as well that actually record footage, especially when it's trying to identify like animal droppings, we'll say, around your house or other things, and will actually send those pictures or video to the app so you can say, yes, this was this or this was not that. And so you think about it, Amazon bought this company, which, you could just say maybe they just have some spare cash around or whatever. But again, Amazon is trying to get as much data so it can market to you, show you products that you would want, to have a floor map of your, a floor plan of your home and camera footage, like photos and videos. Like I sound like I should get my tinfoil hat out, but I feel like this is not it's not gonna end well. So I don't know. I mean, what do you think they're gonna be doing with this stuff?
It's been all over the place. I'm seeing so much stuff go on social media and videos people made kind of parodying what Amazon could do here. Like I know I had a Twitter thread of things that Amazon would start doing, like, your bathroom towels seem kind of ratty. Here are some new suggestions. Like I'm sure that's like extreme, but it also, Amazon has been developing its own robot vacuum cleaner for like 4 years. 4 years. Right. And then all of a sudden it just decides to drop a ton of money on one of the, if not the biggest company in the space. It doesn't seem like they're going to do that just for the fun of it. I mean, they should be able to sell theirs, like, basically like at a loss and do really well. But if they have a massive install base of users that they can all of a sudden get access to that data for, it seems like that, Amazon's about data these days. And you can't argue that. So the fact they're buying something that is in your home that can use AI to detect what it's looking at just seems real weird. And they can happily say, we will not sell your data, but they will use it themselves.
Yeah, they don't need to sell it.
Weird.
They would be
They're the people that would buy it.
Yeah, exactly. Like they would be buying data. So I feel like this is total speculation. So listen, if you're a lawyer out there and you want to object, this is speculation. But taking the Ring camera news and how Amazon has the data of what you name your camera. So that is something that's confirmed. They have that data. Now let's say they have all this Roomba information, and all of a sudden you change the name of a room to say baby room or nursery. I mean, that is legitimate data that Amazon could use to say, well, this person just named a room in their house baby room, probably interested in baby products. And technically could then show you things when you visit Amazon.com, baby related, even if you've never searched for anything baby related before. And I mean, that seems really smart from an advertising perspective, really creepy from a privacy perspective. And I feel like that's not, I don't know, does that feel like a reach? I mean, that feels like something that they would probably do, right? Or could do?
That 100% seems, because I know that there's those companies, like there was just literally, I can't even remember who did it. It might have been Wired or something that put out a report of these companies know that you're having a kid and they're selling that information to like big box stores. And they're able to combine things from like your search history to something else to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
And then they're able to take that and then sell it to things like Target. So before, I think we'd even talked about this, like that one younger girl who was pregnant and like her parents found out like before she even said anything because things started coming in the mail based she was just because of her Google searches.
Yep.
And it's nuts that they can do that. So the fact that they can put so much together and connect these little pieces, and when you have enough data, two completely like unrelated data points can start to show like a correlation of things. Like, this type of person usually has this and this. So those two unrelated things can mean this, and then use that to market to through Amazon. And it's weird.
It is weird. So listen, I mean, if you have a Roomba, I had a Roomba before, like, you know, I got one at the old house. If you want to do an office space and drag that thing out in the field and hit it with a bat, at least take a video and send it to us. I mean, I'd like to see that, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you need to do that just yet. I don't know. What would you do, Andrew, if you had like a newer Roomba, one with a camera, and it tracked your whole house, it mapped everything, and then now with this news comes out, like, just what would you do personally?
Personally, maybe one of the here's the weird things is they can take, because my first thought would have been like, okay, I would just make sure I'm sending this with a separate account. I'm not linking this to an Amazon account. I'm not using the same email as I am for an Amazon account. That way it stays separate, right? That way it's separate data. But if it can know your general location and your Wi-Fi name,
yes,
it can put your accounts together and know which Amazon account is yours. Right. So that stuff gets difficult.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's tough.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to throw it away because they're not cheap and they're very good robots. They're really nice. You know, if they ever came out with a HomeKit one, I definitely would have considered getting a second one for the second floor of our home or something. But especially now, I wouldn't do that. But
and you know, I do want to. I'll take off half of my tinfoil hat. You know, I think a lot of people can go to an extreme on the conspiracy side and read into all the data. Like, I think at the bottom, the base motivation is just to sell you more stuff. You know, this data is really used to just advertise to you even closer to what you want so that you will buy something from them. You know, and that is, I think that would be the most nefarious thing. Now, the law enforcement requesting video footage from your camera, that's a different story. But when it comes to, you know, what information they might get from your Roomba, your house floor plan, maybe even a camera or whatever, they want to advertise to you. And I don't think it is any more nefarious than that. It can get really, really creepy because this is when things are like, I just said the word slide and now I'm seeing 18 slides on the top of my Amazon app. You know, it's listening to me. And this is one of those misconceptions where a lot of people just think, oh, every microphone is listening to every word I say. That's how they know. It's like they have way better data than the words you say on to know what to advertise to you. And that story about the girl who was pregnant, parents found out through a Target flyer, that was from the book The Power of Habit. And really talking about people's habits and shopping habits and how that what you do online, what you search for, and what you spend your money on is actually way better data on what you would want to buy than what you say in a casual conversation. And so that's why they use this information. They don't need microphones on recording every word you say. They see your purchase history. They see your search history. They see your browsing history. And if you're on social media like Facebook, they see all the things that you interact with there and engage with. So they don't need to listen to you. Like, they know from your activity. So if you want to learn more about the power of habit, I mean, this is not a plug, but it kind of is. You know, The Power of Habit is a great book. It talked about those kinds of habits or whatever. So I just want to say, I think the most nefarious thing that's going to happen is you get even more targeted ads. I don't think men in suits are going to come to your door and say, we saw you did something and arrest you. I don't think. No promises, of course. But I think it's really just advertising that is the worst thing that's going to happen. So.
Yeah, I think it's just overall just disconcerting and feels weird.
Yeah.
With the Ring stuff too, like I saw you could go in there and you could delete your videos, but Amazon says they'll still keep them for a certain amount of time for legal reasons. So you could literally go in and delete a video on your account and they still have access to it and could provide it to law enforcement or something if they request it. So stuff like that is weird. And they say, oh, we have to. But at the same time, there's Apple or Eufy that are everything is encrypted and we have no access to it.
Right.
They could do those things. And I'm pretty sure there is, this is where I don't know for sure, but isn't there a higher paid tier of the Ring where you can get encryption or something?
I don't know.
Or is it only on certain models? I don't remember. Steven's going to go and Google it.
I'm Googling right now, but I'm not sure.
I thought they had some sort of promise about encryption, but it's definitely not everything. And they still have a lot of access to most videos, if not all of them.
Yeah. So, their Ring pricing page doesn't have encryption anywhere stated on it. So I don't know. but anyway, all right. Let's talk about some happy stuff because we do have you have a great review of the Eve Aqua. I still want to get to my something fun. So before we get to that, let's thank our final sponsor for today, our friends at Collide. Listen, traditional endpoint security tools can make your workplace feel like a surveillance state. We were just kind of talking about that. It turned users and the IT team into adversaries and ultimately drive your employees to work on unsecured personal devices. Well, it doesn't have to be this way. Collide is a device security solution built around honest security. Their philosophy is that employees aren't your biggest risk, they're your biggest allies, and your relationship with them should be based on transparency and trust. Collide works by notifying your employees of security issues via Slack. This is so cool. And it gives them step-by-step instructions on how to resolve themselves. So if they save their password in a text file on their desktop, Collide will send them an automated Slack message and say, hey, maybe don't do that because that's sensitive information and you just put that on your desktop and it's kind of easy to get to. So Collide, it works with your users for that. For IT and security teams, Collide provides the right level of visibility for Mac, Windows, and Linux devices, and it can answer questions about your fleet security that traditional mobile device managers can't. So meet your security goals without compromising your values. Visit collide.com/HomeKit to find out how. When you go to that link, you get free stuff. They actually send you a free goodie bag just for doing a free trial. That's double free. Free trial, free goodie bag. That's Collide, KOLIDE.com/HomeKit. Collide.com/HomeKit. That link is in the show notes as well. Our thanks to Collide for sponsoring this episode. And now you got a thing that is really tempting me because I have a house now with legit spigots around, and I kind of want to get one of these new ones. Andrew, tell me about the new thread-enabled, redesigned Eve Aqua.
That is right. I've been testing the new Eve Aqua that got quite a big overhaul from the second generation device. This is the third generation Eve Aqua.
Yes.
It actually has a redesign. The last generation version and the new version both contain Thread. So Thread itself is not the new feature here. It's everything else. Thread is a holdover from the last generation, and it's very much welcomed. I've never had connectivity issues with my last generation Thread-enabled Eve Aqua or this new version. Thread is fantastic, especially for these outdoor use cases, because if you look at your other options, your alternatives, you've got Wi-Fi. It's really going to depend on where Wi-Fi router is, and Wi-Fi doesn't go through things like brick walls super well. So unless you have outdoor Wi-Fi routers, which not everybody has, Wi-Fi is not super useful there. And Wi-Fi is also a big power drain. So if you have something that's running on batteries, it can't run Wi-Fi very well. And then you could go with Bluetooth, like Bluetooth or BLE. But if you have Bluetooth, the range isn't spectacular, and it has to be within proximity of your home hub. So you're putting something outside, you better have your Apple TV or your HomePod right inside that wall to make sure it can connect. With Thread, not a problem. The range is nice and solid, and you can easily extend that network. So you put that thing outside. If for some reason your Thread network didn't extend there, pop in an Eve Energy, right inside your wall there. Use it for a lamp or a coffee maker, whatever, and you'll extend that Thread network right to it. So very handy to be able to get that connectivity. In my case, I happen to have a HomePod Mini in this room. By the way, Steven, there's all these rumors about these new HomePod Minis.
Yes.
And it's freaking me out because I want to get a new HomePod Mini. And I'm like, I can't replace like 10 HomePod Minis if something cool comes out. So like, I feel like I can't buy a new HomePod Mini in case there's a new fun one because I don't want to replace a bunch of devices.
And maybe a new larger HomePod coming out early 2023. So I'm on a HomePod freeze. I was about to get a HomePod Mini for one more room. I said, nope, not doing it. New HomePod might be coming out as soon as next month. Like there was actually a rumor just this morning that the iPhone event might be like September 7th or something, like the first week in September. And I mean, HomePod Mini could come out then. So anyway, HomePod freeze. That's what I'm doing. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Anyway, jumping off the tangent train.
Thank you.
So that's Thread.
Yes.
Moving on, we have the new redesigned body. So it's really neat. It's a two-part enclosure. The top part just like slides right off. It comes off very easily, which I was a little surprised at how easily this thing could come apart. But there's a lot of overlap between the bottom piece and the top piece, which helps give it that water resistance. So when it's outside, water shouldn't be an issue. They're snug over top of one another, and there's a little gasket to keep any water from like somehow snaking its way into the innards of the new Eve Aqua.
The hand motion you just did for that, you have to go to youtube.com/HomeKit Insider. Andrew did some kind of, that was something. That was yeah.
Yeah, that's the water. It's like wiggling up inside and
good.
Getting in all the parts.
That's good.
Thank you.
That's good.
When you take this apart, you can see like this completely redesigned interior. And if you look at my written review, I've got pictures of it. But basically, there's just a tiny little like tube going down like one side of it that has everything in there. They're using this new magnetic mechanism for the valve. Don't know how that works. How do magnets work? But it is completely silent. Like I literally, whether there's water connected to it or it's just like in here on my desk, I'm pressing the button and I can't hear a single thing. The other one would whirl and click as it was opening and closing, which I never had like a problem with, but it just didn't sound good. Like I always felt like something was off. New one, spot on, very quick on and off. And there's also a metal grate towards the top of it, which is like to kind of diffuse the water as well as protect anything from going in so no debris gets into the motor on the inside. It does diffuse the water a bit. So it looked like, I don't know if I would necessarily say like the water flow was down, but before I feel like the spigot hole was maybe smaller. So it seemed like there was a lot of pressure coming straight out. Like it came out as like a forceful stream. On the Eve Aqua, when it's there and I press the button, I think it still flows about the same rate, but it's like wider and softer, kind of like your spigots inside of your house, like a kitchen faucet. If you've ever removed those threads on the bottom that has that little metal grate and you turn it on, it like comes out like crazy. And you put that on there and it like softens it.
Yeah.
Similar thing, but I was very surprised like when I turned it on, it was a much more calm stream of water coming out of there, which is also better for like the dogs to drink from and stuff like that. They have changed that connection, the valve connection or the spigot connector from plastic, which had a tendency to slip. When I was putting like my old one on, like literally would just, I go to tighten it and I think it was getting tight and all of a sudden like drop down to like the next ring again. Like, oh, I can't like tighten it too much or it'll just slip off. The new one has a brass connector with a plastic around the outside. So it is much stronger to connect there. I did have a couple of drips happening on my outdoor spigot here. It could be the spigot, could be the Eve Aqua. I don't know, but I did notice a couple drips coming on, but it shouldn't be an issue and it should be much stronger than that last generation version. The one thing that kind of bothered me with this is the move from aluminum to plastic. And we didn't even catch this in the last episode because like I'm looking at it and it looks like it's aluminum and I had to tweet about it afterwards. And that is that the body is not metal anymore. It used to be a metal enclosure. Now it's plastic. So it's like space gray looking, matte black front. But yeah, they went from a anodized aluminum chassis to plastic. And like looking at it by itself, it looks great. I like the look of it. But then you touch it and feeling the old one, it feels cheaper. So like if it was in a silo, I don't think I'd have much of a problem with it, but it just looks like it went from like a nice premium metal body to plastic, and that doesn't give me like a good impression of the product. It's not bad. It just, plastic is cheaper. It feels cheaper than metal. So that was in my head a lot. And I kind of didn't want to, like, I again tweeted about it, and some of you guys we were all talking about it, but the Eve's moving from like, the last generation Eve Motion to the new one that's all plastic. They didn't do anything metal and brought the price down a bunch. Here we see, again, going from plastic to metal or metal to plastic. But they didn't really even lower the price. It's still fairly expensive, and they're taking away premium materials. And I just hope that this isn't a pattern for Eve to reduce the quality of materials or dropping their prices on their stuff to a degree that they're taking out some of the nice things that made them special and really nice products to have in your home. And I think the next product that they release will be more telling of that on what their continued strategy will be. We talked about the batteries on the show before. I don't mind. AA batteries, kind of finicky to replace there on the inside. It's a little bit of an odd cover, but yeah, I don't mind batteries because you can't really charge an outdoor device very easily. You don't want to bring it inside and all that, so I'm okay with replaceable batteries. Watering, you can have 6 watering programs. Each of those programs can have 7 watering periods, giving you a total of 42 watering sessions per week in your home. You can create shortcuts that will suspend your watering schedule, and you could like tie these into like your morning routines. So if you have like a morning shortcut that you run that'll like open the shades, turn on lights, check your schedule for the day, you could also tie in checking the weather and suspending your Eve Aqua watering schedule if there is rain on the horizon. So that's a nice feature that we had with previous versions of the Eve Aqua. But yeah, otherwise it's been great. There's extra stuff in the Eve app versus the Home app, but it's a very solid thread-enabled HomeKit watering system. Oh, and it supports the Gardenia watering system that clips on. You can do like the drip waters. They have all the fancy hoses and other cool stuff that you can do. And it's just nice they include an adapter like right in the box. Like you can go buy one, but it's nice they include one.
That's cool.
So, you got any questions, Stephen?
I wonder if the plastic casing now is because the magnetic stuff inside maybe is more costly, that they had to save money elsewhere. Because honestly, like that's the one thing I haven't impulse purchased this because it's $150, which it's probably worth it. It's it's a good device, and I know we mentioned this last week, but as far as like leaking from the thing, it's a pretty secure connection. You don't get like little drips and stuff from this and the spigot in between.
No, like I did have like a couple drips coming down, but I like re-put it on, and I don't think I've had any issues.
Okay.
And it's going to be dependent on the thread on your, your spigot as well. Right. So I've got a splitter on there. I don't know if everything like, meshes perfectly because they can have, bigger or smaller or a lot of thread and less thread. So it definitely takes a little bit of playing with, but I don't think there should be any issues of that if you put it onto your spigot correctly. Use any additional rubber gaskets if you need to. But yeah, it shouldn't be a problem, and it's much stronger than the previous generation version.
Right. Man, it's tempting. We'll see. I don't know. I haven't done it yet. I'm close to just hitting the buy now, right?
I don't know. I'm not just a watering fan. We have a lot of gardens. We have 2 4x8 foot raised vegetable and fruit gardens in the back. We have herb gardens elsewhere, and then we have all of our water beds in the front. We're on a well pump, so we don't have to worry too much about water because we're basically like just pumping it up out of the ground and put it right back into the ground. And so we don't have to worry about too much. It does cost us like the electricity to run like the water pump to pull up the water and stuff, but that's not, terrible. But especially like, we spend all the time, planting flowers and stuff in like the front gardens or maintaining the vegetable gardens. And if you want to be out there every day, like in Ohio, the summer has been very hot, and we'll go like a couple weeks without any rain, and the ground is cracking out of dryness. And then we'll get like a week of a bunch of rain. So it just depends on what it is, but I don't want all these things we spent money on and, time on, and I don't want to have to be running out there with 30 buckets of water to water everything. So this is so much more convenient. Run some soaker hoses. I created a sprinkler for the raised beds, a lot of different options, but I really would, I have to have some sort of automatic watering system, and this is the best one that I found.
Okay. Well,
without getting crazy.
Sure. Well, it looks good. I'm tempted. We'll see. I might get it soonish. I don't know, because I actually have spigots, so I can use this now. So anyway, very cool. We'll put a link to Andrew's review in the show notes, of course. And okay, I want to talk about this thing real quick because I'm excited and mad about it both at the same time. So I finally bit the bullet because I had several listeners saying, I asked, does this thing make a big difference? Is it worth it? Listeners were like, oh yeah, love mine. It's great. So I was like, all right, I'm going to try it. And so what I got, I'm holding it on camera now for our YouTube audience. This is the Hue Play HDMI Sync Box. Okay, so I got the Sync Box. I also have the boxes behind me, but I got the gradient light strip made to go behind a 65-inch TV. So I got, the whole setup. I already had 2 Hue Plays, and so I got the whole deal. I got the gradient light strip around the back of the TV. I got 2 Hue Plays at the bottom, and I'll show a quick clip of what I was doing last night because I'm doing a lot of testing. I'm doing a lot of testing, and so this is kind of the the Hue Play. If you go to youtube.com/HomeKit Insider, you can kind of see everything syncing together and all the colors behind the TV and everything. Like, cool, pretty cool. So when it works, it's cool. But I've been having several issues. Number one, I assumed that this would be kind of automatic, where when I turn on my Apple TV, I finally got my whole system where everything turns on. If I turn on the Apple TV, receiver turns on, TV turns on, goes to the right input. Beautiful. Only need the Apple TV remote. When I turn everything off, everything turns off. So I had my whole system finally set. So I assumed that if I put this Hue Play box kind of in the middle of the chain, that it would do the same. And it kind of does. The Hue Play box does turn on when the Apple TV turns on and turns off when it turns off. But to actually have it start syncing the lights, it is a manual process. And when I added this to the Hue system, one, I didn't realize you need to have a secondary Hue app. I didn't realize you can't use the same Hue app for the sync box. There's actually its own bespoke app just for the sync box. And you tell it to sync like a video, music, or game, the intensity and the brightness of the syncing. So this app is just for the sync box. Would have been nice if it was all built into the Hue app, but that's fine. So even when everything's on, I just turned everything on, you actually have to go to the app, and actually there's a toggle that appears at the bottom, and it says Start Sync. And you actually have to toggle that on to start the syncing process. So I was like, that's a little janky. You have to kind of manually start it every time, but okay, fine. So then I thought, well, maybe there's some Siri shortcuts integration, and sure enough, there was. The Hue Sync app actually gives you some Siri shortcuts where you can enable the mode, the intensity, the brightness, start and stop syncing in Siri shortcuts. I said, this is perfect. I actually have some shortcuts I set up for all my home entertainment stuff, so let me try that. Try the shortcut steps, doesn't work. And I noticed after several times, even manually going into the Hue Sync app after everything was turned on and saying Start Sync, it was not working. The lights would just stay off. And the app would say that it's syncing, but the lights did not work. And so I have found that in order for it to start syncing, I actually have to go in and restart the box. There's actually in the Hue app, this has got to be a bug or something, but I actually have to go to the Sync app, go to the box settings, and then in the bottom, there's a restart device. I actually have to do that every time I turn on my system for it to start syncing properly, which that is obviously not correct. I think the issue is Dolby Vision, because, and this was my concern, this is why I didn't get this box for a long time. I have a Dolby Vision television, and the receiver does Dolby Vision, the Apple TV does Dolby Vision, and HDR, it does Dolby Atmos, all that kind of stuff. And this is what I was worried about, that the signal through the Play box would somehow get messed up. And when you set up the Hue Play box, it does say if you have a Dolby Vision television, you might run into some issues. So do this little checkbox, and then it should help solve it. And so there's actually, in the advanced sync settings of the app, there's actually something called Dolby Enhanced Vision Compatibility. You're supposed to turn that toggle on, and then it even gives you all these instructions, like you have to use port 2 or 4 on the Play box in order for Dolby Vision support. So I was like, okay. So I moved it into input 2, enabled Dolby Vision, but it's still the same deal. I have to restart the play box every time. I could have a lemon. I'm not sure, but I do think that Dolby Vision is an issue. I used the best HDMI cables I have. I did not use the one that came with the box. Like the instructions in the app says, use really good HDMI cables. So that's what I did. But also, even when everything is working, so I restart the box, I start playing something, the lights are syncing, everything's, seems to be good. In the middle of watching something, multiple times in the course of like 20 minutes, the screen will black out for a few seconds. And the sound is still going, so I know the signal is still passing through, but the screen goes dark. 3 seconds later, it'll come back on. It'll say the Dolby Vision on the screen, and then, it'll keep playing like it's supposed to. But it's consistent. Like I have not had a time where I've watched 30 minutes consecutively and it didn't black out. So it's a lot of issues. I really do think the Dolby Vision 4K is part of it. I mean, it does even say, Dolby Vision might cause compatibility issues. So I don't know if it's a lemon. I don't know if this is just a known issue. And so I have one call, which is to the listeners, where if you use a play box, but in a very specific setup, you have a 4K new Apple TV and you have a Dolby Vision 4K TV, and you're using the Dolby Vision from both, I think it's 4K 60 Dolby Vision, and you're trying to do the Hue Play box in between, let me know if you have it working, or let me know if you have issues, because there seems to be clear issues with this, not only with the restarting the box every time, but also it's the screen going black randomly. So it's really cool when it works, but I've been having several issues. Hopefully there's an answer to this, or maybe it's a lemon and I'll just get a different one and that'll help. But that's what I've run into. So, Andrew, do you have one of these guys?
I do.
Do you have a Dolby Vision?
I reviewed it a couple years ago. I do have the latest generation Apple TV, and I do have a Dolby Vision 4K TV.
And you don't have any of these issues? Does it start? Have you tried the shortcuts thing, and it'll start the light syncing through a shortcut?
Yeah, because I don't necessarily want to use it every time. So yeah, I do just use the shortcut to enable it and disable it when I want to use it. But yeah, haven't had any of those issues.
So you use 4.
It's been nice too, because they've upgraded a lot. Like even when I first originally reviewed it, it didn't support Dolby Vision and a couple other things, and they have slowly added new features via software update to address those shortcomings. So it's been pretty solid for me. Okay. I've never had to reset it, actually.
Okay. Well, maybe I got a lemon. So I might return it then and just try a different one and see if I have the same issues, because it is really cool. I do like it. It's a fun experience, but those issues were just a pain in the butt. And so, okay, I'll see. I'll return it. Listeners, let me know if you run into anything like that as well. But it is cool. The gradient light strip, that's 2 thumbs up. Love the gradient light strip behind the TV. It looks amazing. Mm-hmm. And real quick before we go, I do just want to mention we had a listener, David S. He actually emailed me. He got his hands on a Schlage Encode Plus, one of the first HomeKey locks, and he says he really likes it. It's pretty cool. He can unlock it with his phone or watch with NFC. Everyone in his iCloud family has access to the HomeKey. He was, enabled access to that, and he says it's great. So I know they were hard to get; they were out of stock in a lot of places, but looks like they're coming back in stock. He got them, and yeah, it's really cool. So it's fun to hear. It's good to hear. Nice. So anyway, man, this Hue Play with me, it's getting, man, I want it to work. I really like it. So I'm gonna try and return it. I'll return it and get another one. So, all right. Well, listeners, check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/HomeKit Insider. You could watch us there. Give us a 5-star rating and review in Apple Podcasts. Love to give a shout out to you there. I had some shout outs. I forgot the shout outs this week. I'll save them for next week. We had three 5-star reviews. We'll give you a double shout out next week. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.
See you guys.